Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Plus. If you've been a victim of a financial fraud recently, you are not alone. In fact, more than 5,000 instances of financial fraud were reported during April to September of 2022. Now, these are just the reported numbers. Last year, during the same period, nearly 4,000 cases were reported. According to a report, 42% of the people surveyed claimed to have faced some type of financial fraud between 2019 and 2022. The Reserve Bank of India data reveals a sinister modus operandi. The fraud has shifted from traditional medium to cards and internet-based transactions and in fact to UPIs now. It's not safe to share your data. It's not safe to share it on your phone, save it on your phone. It's not safe to write it down. So what do you really do? Joining us at this point in time is Professor Bijon Kumar Mishra, who's an international consumer policy expert. Also with me is Pawan Duggal, who is a cyber law expert. With me in the studio is my colleague Ashok Bagaria, who's the legal editor here at TV9. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us at this point in time. I want to understand from you, Ashok, the depth of the crisis here. The average number of people who are reporting such instances has shot up recently. What do you think has led to this?
Well, actually, primarily what has really happened is that the law has not been able to keep pace with the growth of technology. So what we are witnessing today is that there are crimes which are happening which we have never heard of in the past, and these are basically all cyber crimes. And there is no mechanism in place which deals with offences like these. They are still criminals who commit cybercrime are still dealt with the outdated Indian Penal Code laws which are there, where you basically file a case of cheating, the police will investigate that case, and then maybe possibly if they are arrested, then they'll be brought to the book. However, what is to be kept in mind is the fact that with the growth of technology and advancement of technology, the difficulty in tracking or tracing down these cyber criminals is very difficult, and what really needs to be done is that the law enforcement mechanism has to keep pace with the crimes that are taking place, because this is a unique type of an offense that we are trying to deal with.
Okay, a unique, a differential way of doing it. In fact, becoming more and more interesting with each passing day and more complex, so to say. We have at this point in time retired Air Marshal L.K. Malhotra joining us, who in fact was duped as recently as last week. Sir, appreciate you taking time out here. I want to understand from you what exactly happened. We are given to understand that you had to part ways with 8,000 rupees as of last week. This money was intended for a certain purpose, did not go towards that purpose. What exactly happened?
Oh, thank you, Shweta. I'll just be very brief. You see, I was looking for a site in Rishikesh to go and stay for a period of 2 days. And I Googled and I found that particular site because that was recommended to me by a friend of mine. And having came up with that, I was putting in the dates and I booked the dates and I said, please confirm. That's the time bookings.com landed up on the same page. And they said, please download for confirmation. I downloaded, got the confirmation. And then I asked if I could speak to someone from the property. They gave me a number, to which I dialed and I spoke to the gentleman over there at the other end who claimed to be an employee at the reception of the same property which I had selected. Now thereafter I had asked him, I wanted to clarify about the parking space available, etc. And finally I asked him, I said, okay, what do I do? He said that parking space is available, and if you want a confirmation in writing and a receipt, you please transfer 8,000 rupees to me immediately. I said, to what address? He gave me the details, and to which I sent the 8,000. And thereafter, he gave me a confirmation number, you can say a confirmation code of 19084. And he said that you engine the same number again in the Google Pay app and you please submit. I said, no, in that case, the money will get transferred to you. So he tried to insist that, no, you please do that and nothing will happen and the receipt will come to you. I said, no, I don't want it. This way, I do not want any confirmation. You can give it to me on site when I come over here. And he disconnected. That's about all. And thereafter, I checked with the property and they said that the bank details were not theirs. And the name which this gentleman identified himself with, they said he has no such name on our staff.
Okay, what's his name, sir? And we can see the IFSC code there. I think it's important for the discretion of our viewers at this point in time. You can see the details on your screen at this point. The numbers are what have been provided to us. This is as of last week. What was the name of the gentleman, sir, and what did he tell you?
Okay, the name of the person when I rang up is one Mr. Tushar. And at the number, which if you want, I can give you the number. The number of the gentleman is 96920 22424.
Okay, just to tally that, in fact, and tally everything that's happened to you, I spoke to this certain Tushar just a couple of minutes ago. We're going to get in touch with him and understand what exactly happened. But sir, just to come back to you, you were sure that you were transferring it to the site, the intended site, and he made he made available all the proof to you. He gave you as much as a receipt after you transferred that money. So what exactly prompted you to then go back and cross-check everything?
Yeah, okay. You see, when I asked him for the receipt and the confirmation, and he had given me the confirmation code of 19084, now he told me to get back onto the Google Pay, put that amount in the pay column, that is 19084, and put in my PIN. And he said, you will get the confirmation code. I said, no, if I do that, the money is going to get transferred to you, that particular amount. He kept insisting. I said, no, I will not do it. And you please give me the receipt when I visit the site. At this point, he disconnected. And that's when I got suspicious that there is something wrong, because he wouldn't take any more calls and he was not answering to my messages.
Sir, stay with me because I'm getting a call. Tushar? हेलो तुषार.
हाँ मैं बोलिए.
हाँ जी, मैंने आपके थ्रू बुकिंग की थी, आपसे थोड़ी देर पहले बात की थी.
हाँ हुई थी.
हाँ जी, मैंने अपने हस्बैंड से कॉन्फर्मेशन ले लिया. बताएंगे मुझे क्या करना है?
ये आपका व्हाट्सएप नंबर यही है ना?
जी.
ओके, आप मेरे को हाई सेंड करो अपने व्हाट्सएप से ना.
अच्छा.
सेम नंबर पे.
और फिर?
और अपना बुकिंग डिटेल सेंड कर दो एक बार मेरे को ना. बुकिंग नेम, चेक इन डेट, चेक आउट डेट.
हाँ जी. और पैसे फिर आपको पैसे देने हैं या वहीं आके दूं?
वो मैं आपको डिटेल सेंड कर दूंगा, उस पे कर देना. मैं तुरंत आपको इधर से कंफर्मेशन रिसीप्ट सेंड कर दूंगा.
हाँ जी. कितने पैसे देने हैं सर?
ये मैम 3200 हो रहे हैं ना आपके पैसे. 1 रूम 2 नाइट के लिए बोला था ना.
होटल से मेरी अभी बात हुई तो उन्होंने कहा वहाँ पे पेमेंट हो सकता है, ऑनलाइन की ज़रूरत नहीं है.
एक्चुअली मैम अभी बुकिंग्स बहुत ज़्यादा आ रही हैं, तो पहले बुकिंग पेमेंट के साथ में बुकिंग कंफर्म कर रहे हैं.
अच्छा ठीक है, तो पहले बुकिंग करनी पड़ेगी. सर, आपने एयर मार्शल एलके मल्होत्रा से पैसे लिए थे लास्ट फ्राइडे को 8000 और आपने उनको कहा था कि उनकी बुकिंग हो गई है. फिर हमने कॉल किया तो पता चला कि कोई बुकिंग नहीं हुई है. तो क्या आप बता सकते हैं आप उस होटल से हैं, आप कौन हैं, आप क्यों पैसे ले रहे हैं लोगों से? आप टीवी पे लाइव हैं, आप टीवी 9 पे लाइव हैं. मैं यहाँ पे जर्नलिस्ट बोल रही हूँ. मैं जानना चाहती हूँ कि आप पैसे लेके लोगों को क्यों बेवकूफ़ बना रहे हैं?
उनका बुकिंग में 18 तारीख का है ना?
जी, लास्ट वीकेंड का सर. इनफैक्ट मल्होत्रा सर लाइव हैं इस वक्त मेरे साथ. वो जानना चाहते हैं कि आप उनका... Okay, he's disconnected, sir, as was expected. There you have it, Tushar Gupta, as he calls himself. He is one of, or he pretends to be one of the representatives of the hotel where you booked a stay last Friday. We will try and get in touch with the ashram at this point in time to understand how and why this is working. Mr. Malhotra, stay with us. I want to come to Bijon at this point in time. Bijon, the crisis is deepening. More and more people are reporting this on each passing day. What exactly is happening? Is it because a lot of people are fearing at this point in time that we are using more Google Pay, UPI, there's more online transaction? Is that the case? Is that the reason why it's happening, or there's more to it?
No, it's very simple, Sweta. You just now exposed that you were privy to certain information and you caught the culprit. Now, when you can catch the culprit, then the people who have been assigned to do this work, who are supposed to catch the culprits, what are they doing? Why they are not able to catch these fraudsters as decoy customers like you have done right now, and you showed to all your viewers that how you caught the culprit, then why can't the authorities or the police or whoever are the people responsible to do this work, why are they not chasing this fraud? these fraudsters and taking them behind bars.
Okay.
You see, the answer is 41 million transactions are happening now every day. Consumers are very much find it convenient to do transactions online. And naturally, there is a breach. Breach means the informations are getting leaked. So when the information gets leaked, then naturally these fraudsters are prowling around to catch these information. And they come to know who is looking for hotel, who is looking for a vacation, who is trying to do a transaction. So where is this leak from? We have to find that out. That is very simple. And then there are processes which can be put in place through technology where we can get alerts and immediately you can come to know. But there are vulnerable consumers. Everybody is not that aware, like one of our panel member who could suspect and not make the payment on time, and he escaped.
Right.
Somehow because he smelled play. So my simple question is, when a channel like yours, a person like you could reach the culprits, where is the cyber police and what are they doing?
Okay.
I'm not able to understand that.
That's an interesting question. We're going to come to that also. But I want to understand at this point in time, and coming to you, Pawan, what are the most common frauds and their operations? Because it's not just limited to UPI now. It's credit card. It's anything and everything. You can't share any information, any OTP anywhere. What does a common man do?
The common man has to realize that we are already now in the midst of the golden age of cybercrime. The common man has to realize that the common man, like anyone else, becomes a very fertile potential target or a victim of cybercrime. I personally believe there are only two kinds of people in the world. One who know that they have become a victim of a cybercrime, and second are those people who do not know that they have become a victim of cybercrime. So I believe we will have to start inculcating more capacity building, more awareness about cybercrime. Cybercrime is not something that's out somewhere in the distant horizon. Cybercrime has arrived in your lives, is a part of your daily life, is a resident within your own locality, your own city, your own region, and your own country. So at a time when COVID-19 has actually seen the cottage industrialization of the Jamtara model of cybercrime, where more and more people have started adopting to cybercrime to generate more money, the only way people can potentially fight this challenge is trying to be aware of the problem and trying as far as possible not to become a potential victim of cybercrime. Because you try going to the cyber police, they are so much burdened with all these kinds of calls, and for them this is so much irrelevant, any small kind of criminal activity, that they don't give the kind of attention that this deserves.
Okay.
Now in this particular live program of yours, you've demonstrated that if there's a will, the person can actually be reached up to. What happens that he disconnected the call, that's not an issue. The law enforcement agencies have the ability to go and catch him, nab him. But whether they do so or not is one issue. Because there are almost so many of these complaints happening on the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, being cybercrime.gov.in. But out of 100 odd cases that would tend to go on to cybercrime.gov.in, only about 5 would tend to get registered as an FIR. So if the FIRs are not getting registered, there's no propensity, no urgency to go ahead and investigate the same. And if there's going to be no investigation, there's no question of any conviction or getting your money back. Also, users need to understand that they do not have to fall into the 1 rupee, 10 rupee or 100 rupee trap. You will get calls or message from someone, I accidentally transferred you 1 rupee or 10 rupee or 100 rupee, please transfer it back to me. Never go in for these kind of small transactions, because they are a precursor of a much bigger cyber fraud that's about to happen. Try not to click any particular links, because once you click the link, then you're effectively giving the remote control of your device onto the cyber criminal, who's actually merrily waking away to glory. In this particular case, this particular gentleman would have defrauded more than about 20-30 customers today itself. And he's happy, no problem. He's not even bothered you've taken him on live television. because he's only disconnected the call. He continues. He knows fully well that maybe it's such a small crime that the police is not going to come running after him. It's this kind of a casual attitude that people have got, which has actually resulted in far more proliferation of cybercrime. On top of it, the Indian legal framework is thoroughly inadequate to deal with cybercrime. A crime like this, at best, is only a bailable offense, punishable with imprisonment of 3 years and fine of 5 lakh rupees. So there's no deterrence in the law. And people believe, oh, we will, cross the bridge when it comes to it, because we are Indians, we subscribe to the Indian Jugaad school of management, and we are confident that we will be able to do some Jugaad or the other as we go forward. I think that mindset will have to be destroyed or shaken. The time has come where more effective legal frameworks will have to be coming in. Now cyber is getting involved in almost every kind of criminal activity. You require cyber cells, not only in a state, you require a cyber cell in each police station. You require every police officer to be cyber enabled and cyber trained as far as tackling, dealing, processing, or even, shall I say, prosecuting cyber criminal activities is concerned. But for that, there's a lot of effort that's required. There's no need for far more expenditure, allocation of resources, political will, and of course, dissemination of the basic message that we as the lay citizens have to start adopting cybersecurity as a way of life. The more careful we are, the lesser the chances that we will become victim of any cybercrime.
Okay. Need to be careful is the need of the hour. Air Marshal Malhotra continues to be with us. Let me reiterate to our viewers all that has happened so far. We have spoken to Air Marshal Malhotra, who was a victim of a cybercrime as of last week. He had to part ways with 8,000 rupees. He made a booking, and we are given to understand that the person who received that money duped Air Marshal of that money. Sir, I want to really understand from you what happened thereafter. He duped you, he sent you one more link, he told you have to transfer 8,000 more, and that got the alarm bells ringing. And not everybody is as aware as you are, not everybody knows what they are doing, so they would end up sending money, but you didn't. What prompted you to not continue with the transaction?
Okay, Shweta, you see, like I was telling you, I suspected it to be a fraud. And since he wasn't taking any more calls, so I immediately blocked my UPI account with him. The first thing I said, before he takes out any more money, I'm not very cyber savvy. But at the same time, I thought that, he may be able to take out some money from my account. So I blocked him on the UPI. And thereafter, I rang up the helpline number of the State Bank of India, and of whose UPI I have got. And thereafter lodged a complaint, and they thereafter blocked my UPI altogether. And in fact, as of today, while I'm speaking to you, just about an hour back, I got my UPI reinitiated, but with a different code. That was one. And thereafter, I went to the cybercrime website, and there I have filed the complaint as I had narrated to you, exactly in the same manner, sequentially as well as otherwise.
Okay. We'll try and connect to that hotel, that resort, ashram once again to understand from them whether they are the ones who are sharing these information online on booking.com. Remember, I tried the same route. I made a booking. I got a number. I called on that number, and you heard what the gentleman had to ask. He was asking me, similar to what he asked Air Marshal, he was asking me for 3,200 rupees. We don't know if he's a representative of that ashram. We are hoping he's not, and we'll get a clarification in just a bit from now. Bijon, one gentleman who happened to know what he's doing, not everybody does. What are your quick tips for such people who have been asked to pay money through UPI? What should they do? How should they ensure that they are sending money to an authentic person for the purpose that it's intended?
See, you have to build awareness. The whole campaign, Jago Grahak Jago campaign, was designed out of your and my money, which is supposed to be spent to make people aware about how to go about differentiating between a fraudster and a genuine service provider. So the first kind of a advisory I would give through your channel to everybody is that one must try to directly deal with the service provider and not go through intermediaries. The moment you go through intermediaries, you are bound to get into some kind of a trouble because your information gets shared, and where it is not well protected. If you go directly to the service provider, like you go to the hotel or to the place of stay directly and then ask them for their kind of links to make payment, you are safe and you will be well protected because you are directly talking to the hotel. And there you should also make verifications, like you can go to the website, call the helpline number of the hotel, call the general manager of the hotel or the customer care people. Now all these steps or the SOPs needs to be taught to the citizens. And unfortunately, what happens in most of these promotional campaign which takes place on various platforms, people who pay the money to advertise, their link comes at the top. So what happens is the customer feels that I'm talking to the right person, but actually he or she is not talking to the right person. They're talking to a fraudster because they have paid and put their link at the top. And you are assuming that you're talking to the right company, but they are actually, deceiving the customers and showing that they're representatives of those companies or those service providers, which they are not. So the most important issue is people must try to go directly to make payment to the service provider and go to reputed brands, not to get carried away by attractive pricing, by getting carried away by discounts or some kind of a deceptive advertisements, because it's very easy and consumers definitely are gullible. They definitely look for value for money. They look at cheaper, accessibility to a product or a service. So you can't blame, you can't blame. It is the regulator which has to play the role of building this awareness. In my view, like for example, Reserve Bank of India is conducting a huge campaign
but
in educating customers in terms of these.
Bijon, in this case, we booked through booking.com. I myself did the same, carried out the same sort of steps there, booked through booking.com, which is, as many would believe, as official as it gets, as real as it gets. And even there happens to be a way of defrauding me. Then who do we really believe?
No. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, Sweta. You must try to understand, and your viewers must be made to understand, that booking.com doesn't mean that you're getting to the right booking.com. You see, there are fraudsters who are impersonizing themselves as booking.com, and you can see that, like for example in Google, they would mention ad. They will write ad. Ad means somebody is paid for it. And all ad and promotional links always come at the top because they have been paying money to come on the top. So you got to be extra careful. So you got to go down the page to find out who is the actual booking.com. Are you talking to the real booking.com?
In this case, I can assure you this was as real as it gets. In this particular case, I can assure you. That really brings us to a question, and Ashok, I want to get you here. What is the accountability of aggregators in this case?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that point. Now, Pawanji and Bijonji have rightly touched on the personal hygiene that a customer has to maintain to ensure that they don't get conned or defrauded. However, there is another side of the story. Now, in your case or Marshal Malhotra's case, what really happened was you went to booking.com, placed a booking, and here what happens, this is where the game starts, your data pertaining to the booking gets leaked. Now there is a data breach. We need to have some sort of a regulation in place which prevents such data leakages. Second thing, as far as booking.com is concerned, booking.com is an intermediary. When an incident like this happens to you, then booking.com itself is responsible for any loss you suffer by coming to their website, and as a consequence of the booking that you carry out there, their liability increases, because the Information Technology Act, and Pawanji will back me on that, the IT Act says that it is the duty of the intermediary to ensure and take steps that the data of the user does not get breached. And in case there is a breach of data, the safe harbor provision or the immunity that the intermediary enjoys from any sort of a civil or a criminal liability gets taken away.
Okay.
Now, this is as far as the intermediary is concerned. Now, since 2017, we had a landmark judgment by the Supreme Court in Puttaswamy's case, where they recognized the right to privacy as a fundamental right. And in that particular judgment, the Supreme Court said you need to have a data protection law for this country. Now, for almost 5 years, the data protection law has been in works for the last 5 years, and the government has not been able to come up with a data protection law. Now we have a PDPD bill, that is Personal Digital Protection of Data Bill, which will be introduced in the Parliament, or which has been introduced in the Parliament, and which casts an additional set of obligations on intermediaries to ensure that, number one, when the user is using your website or your application, there has to be a consent. The second thing is that the application or the website you go to has to disclose what kind of data they have access to and prevent data breaches. In fact, the DPDP bill says that in case there is an established case of data breach, they will be fined up to 500 crores. Okay. That is the maximum penalty. So an attempt is being done, but what is happening that in this attempt, in this interim period, what you have seen, 5 years have already lapsed. The number of criminal cases or cybercrime cases are going up. But nothing is being done to prevent the breach of data, because the breach of data lies at the core of all bloody crimes. And until and unless that is stopped, these incidents will continue to rise. People will continue to con customers. They will continue to dupe customers, and incidents like these will get reported on a daily basis.
Okay. Okay, so regardless of how careful you are, if there continues to be breach of data, these incidents will continue to happen. I would like to inform our viewers at this point in time is that we're trying to get in touch with the hotel, resort, or ashram, as you would like to call it, continuously. We're dialing all their numbers. Their numbers are not reachable. We will come back whenever there's an answer from there. But as we can see from what we've heard from Air Marshal and myself, our own experience, we dialed the person who happened or claimed to be a representative of the ashram, asked for money. In Air Marshal's case, we were given to understand that he was not a representative of the ashram. He duped Air Marshal of 8,000 rupees. We don't know whether there's a booking or there's not a booking. We are going to get a confirmation about my case in particular, but in Air Marshal's case, there has been a confirmation that the ashram hotel, the room, has not been booked as stated by him or as per the receipt that was given to him. Remember, on our screens at this point in time, you can see the number of the concerned person. This is the person who claims to be a representative of the ashram. He's the one who's asking for money, but he hasn't really, or we don't know whether he's a part of the ashram management. He claims to be a part of the ashram management. He's asking for money, and he then switches his phone off, which is interesting. But then he restarts his phone every couple of hours. In fact, in a day or two, he comes back. He is operational once again every 2 days. You know, this is not just Jamtara, because the image of Jamtara comes to my mind, Ashok. You know, the only perhaps web series that is based on an experience of duping people, how to dupe people, the elaborate sort of setup that is created to dupe people. But it's not just one place anymore, is it? There are many more such places, many more such small towns, bordering areas of UP, Bihar, where you continue to see these operations flourishing.
Yeah, in fact, this is an issue which is not just confined to one particular place in Jharkhand. But now what we are seeing is that suddenly there is mushrooming of these places on the map of India. So you could have somebody calling you from Jaipur, Bhopal, Jabalpur, Aurangabad, or any forsaken place in this country. And all what they need, all the tools that they need to commit this crime is a mobile phone, a SIM card, and data. That is your mobile number and details of your transactions, or it depends. Everything depends on the kind of the con they are trying to commit. So bigger a con, they need more data on you. So that is the kind of a thing that we are witnessing today. Another thing that we possibly haven't touched in the course of our discussion when it comes to probing cyber crimes is the fact that suppose I'm sitting today in Delhi and I make a booking to a place in Bangalore, and suddenly I figure out that I have been conned and my money has been deducted by somebody who's sitting in Bangalore. Now the problem as far as this crime is concerned is the territorial jurisdiction. How do I expect somebody, Noida police, to take cognizance of my crime for rupees 16,000 or 50,000 rupees and persuade them to travel to Bangalore to probe that offence? Now this is the jurisdiction problem which sets in, and also a cooperation between trans-border cooperation between police stations. These are all problems that we see at the ground level. Now there has to be a centralized and a concerted agency, a nodal agency which has this kind of geographical jurisdiction to deal with offences. And moreover, as was rightly pointed out by Pawanji earlier, saying that the offences are such of petty nature, in the sense 8,000 rupees. What is the maximum punishment you are looking at? 3 years? But the first moment an FIR gets registered, and let us assume as a consequence of the FIR being registered and investigated, the con man is arrested. Okay. It's a clearly a bailable offence. The person would be bailed, given bail at the police station itself. He'll be back in the field, start committing the crime again, waiting if he gets caught the next time around. So the penal provisions are inadequate. The data protection provisions are inadequate. There is no centralized agency which has trans-geographical spread to deal with these offences. So what we are actually left is, at the end of the day, it's the situation where the consumer has to be aware. The total onus, the burden is on consumer that you better beware, because there are crooks sitting out there to defraud you.
Okay, let me get Bijon. He continues to be with us. Bijon, what's the best way to get your money back in case you've been duped, the money's been taken away from your bank account, or you happen to send money to a certain UPI ID? How do you really get it back?
You see, the only way you can get it back is we have to put the onus on the people who are supposed to protect you. You see, as per law, there are regulators who are supposed to protect you. So they are supposed to bring in such mechanisms where I can get an easy refund, easy exchange. I don't have to run around from here to there. If there are fraudsters prowling around, then the regulators should ensure that they are caught and they are taken to task. They go in for public interest litigation, not we, as we are doing today. Why should we be spending our hard-earned, scarce money on fighting public interest litigations? Why can't the regulator go and ensure that there is a class action litigation and people are taken to task who are actually not responsible in terms of taking care of the consumers' welfare or their protection? So my contention is, like you are talking about the guest house or that ashram you're talking about, and you're not able to get through to them. Now it is the regulator who's supposed to raid that place, lock it up, not allow them to do business. If every day you make sure that these people do not exist, then naturally it will come down, the crime rate will come down. And that is what we are expecting from governance. And that is why we spend taxpayers' money to pay to these people who are supposed to look after us. Then when we are paying our taxes, the money is getting spent, there is a budget allocation to take care of all these activities, then why is it not happening efficiently? That's my simple question. And today technology is the biggest enabler. Today we can come to know exactly where that culprit is sitting, because we exactly can come to know with the phone number from where they are talking to us, that where they are located. Immediately the police can locate those places in a jiffy. But it's not the matter of 1 rupee or 1 crore. It's the matter of catching the criminal. You see, we have to catch the fraudsters. And the fraudsters are observing that they are getting away without being caught, because the people who are supposed to catch them are found sleeping. So if they are sleeping, naturally these people will be more active than ever. And we as innocent, vulnerable consumers, and you can't keep on saying the consumer should be aware, consumer should be aware. Okay, we are aware, but we do get caught sometimes into deceptive messaging or publicity. We get caught, but that doesn't mean that when we get caught, you put the onus on me only. Then what the hell what are the other people doing?
Okay.
I mean, who are taking money from my tax money, and why are they sleeping? And you can't say that we don't have enough staff. Every time I find people are just squatting around and eating gutka and pan and not doing their work. I mean, come on now, have a heart here. Make the whole system accountable to the consumer who is paying the money to get accessibility to a product or a service. Even the industry, I find, they are most insensitive towards the consumer. You see, if their brands are getting liquidated, if people are doing spurious work in terms of undermining their brand, they are not taking enough initiative to protect their brand, protect their image at the marketplace, and protect the consumer. You see, they are only interested in making quick money. They are not interested in consumer welfare and protection. And this is where I come from. Every time when I get a chance to speak to the viewers, I get a chance to speak to the citizens, raise your voice, speak up. Don't tolerate nonsense. The people who are supposed to take care of you, if they don't take care of you, you have to raise your voice.
Okay.
You can't be a mute spectator to all these inefficiencies and ineffectiveness, because technology is today enabling consumers to lock my whole data myself. I will be the only possessor of my data and not somebody trade with my data and make money out of my data. It is happening openly. And still, and I heard panel members saying that for more than 5 years, we are still struggling to bring a law. What for? First, the parliament is not functioning. Naturally, if the parliament doesn't function, the law doesn't come to, light. And where are everybody who get elected to take care of us? These lawmakers, why should they be taking so much of time to bring a law?
Okay, that's a fair question. But of all the people, Bijan, that's a fair question. Law taking its own time. And legal recourse, of course, in this country is not easy to go by. But of the total number of people who actually end up reporting, we are given to understand, according to data that is available, only 17% are able to get their funds back. That data is not very encouraging.
No, this is what I'm saying. You have to make the system accountable. You see, I am sitting in many places where we are bringing in policies and people are getting away saying, I will respond in 7 days, 15 days, 20 days. And I will tell them that, why should it take such a long time? You have to respond immediately to my complaint. You cannot take more than an hour to respond to my complaint. You can't keep telling me that I don't have manpower, I don't have infrastructure. Then what are you doing with the budget which is not getting spent? Why is the amount which is dedicated to do this work, why is it going away without being spent at the end of the year? That means you are not making people accountable. You are not making people accountable to the task for which they are being paid a salary every month. And this is what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
People, I have myself heard recorded conversations where the police is expressing their inability to work. Now, if the police is not able to work efficiently, then who can you blame? I am not able to understand that. Okay. They are supposed to be given all facilities to work promptly, because we get away saying, we will get back to you in 15 days. No human face is there. It is just a mundane kind of a response which automated comes to you, and you are in trouble here and you are getting messages, I will get back to you in 7 days and 15 days, where it is urgent. It is absolutely urgent because my money has got siphoned out of my account and it's a hard-earned money, and the money is also protected through insurance. Still the bank doesn't give you the money in time. Why is the money not refunded right away when there is a fraud in the bank? Because it's all insured. You see, it is insured up to 5 lakhs of rupees. Earlier it was only 1 lakh. So why is the bank not paying me my money which has got fraudulently taken away?
Okay. In many cases, in fact, and I want to bring you in at this point, Ashok, in many cases, even banks, they wash their hands away. They say we are not responsible. So if you dial the cyber complaint cell, if you dial their number, they're often not accessible, come back to you after days and weeks. It's such a long and hard battle that a person eventually gives up. So what is the resort?
Yeah, you're right. As far as the banks are concerned, banks are in the business of making money. Let's be very clear about it. And no person who's in the business of making money will part with their money to cover your losses or losses that you have incurred because of being duped. What they will do is they'll try to tire you out. in the sense the whole process becomes so burdensome and cumbersome that you give up after a little while. Again, I said that the regulations are inadequate. What needs to be done is that once a consumer gets to know that they have been defrauded or conned, they need to raise a complaint first with the portal, whether it's a UPI portal or an internet transaction that you've carried out with the bankers, saying that they have been defrauded in this and this is for this sum of money. And the bank, as Bijon rightly pointed out, that your money is insured by the banks, and the bank should get back to the consumer by saying that within 2 working days we'll get back to you. But the problem here is that the banks usually say we are working on your complaint, we are working on your complaint. They try to drain you out. However, there are other mechanisms in place where you raise the complaint directly with the RBI, saying that, oh, it's been 15 days, we raised this complaint, and the RBI must act against the bank. But again, as I said, the whole process becomes so cumbersome that the customer prefers to give up the fight and say that I am not going to get into this nonsense to recover my 8,000 rupees. This is the one aspect of the story. So the whole, you see, another problem with the banks is that if they start paying or refunding these monies, it sets a vicious cycle, because the number of people who get defrauded on a daily basis is so high. Absolutely. That if they start covering that up, it becomes an unsustainable business. What they'll do is that they'll start charging you for using the internet portals also. At the moment they are free. Probably they charge you per transaction 2 rupees or 5 rupees. But once that happens, once the liability starts sticking to them, what they'll do is to increase the cost of internet transaction, which again doesn't become very user friendly. However, all said and done, one important point I also want to bring in was about the fact that how cops actually probe a cyber complaint. So the first thing what you do is that, suppose I have been defrauded, I go to a police station saying that I have been cheated by this particular website. What they'll do is they direct me to the cyber cell. So a normal police station will not have a cyber cell. They'll say there is a cyber police station, you need to go there. You go there, you try to register a complaint. Now, interesting is that why I know about all of this is that I encountered one such situation in Dehradun, that I went to the cyber police station and I figured out there were just 10 policemen and 6 out of them did not know how to operate a computer. And they said, sir, what are these URLs?
Extremely unfortunate.
What URLs are you talking about? How did it happen? Just give us the phone number. This particular call has come to you from Nagpur. We'll have to get in touch with Nagpur police. And again, the whole process becomes so convoluted that the whole idea of registering an FIR and following it up just loses the steam. And the person who's been defrauded said, forget it.
I'm tired of it.
I'm tired of it. I'm not going to follow it.
Okay. Now, we started this bulletin with Marshal Malhotra's testimony, with his experience of what really happened to him, to set the conversation in motion about how difficult it becomes for a person to understand when they are being defrauded of their money, what to do in case you're being defrauded, and how should you be careful. I want to end this bulletin with you, Air Marshal. What are your hopes? I understand you must have approached the authorities. What are your expectations? And to the viewers who are listening, to all our audience at this point in time, what would your final message be?
Yeah, I think the first message is that be careful. That is number one. Number two, my expectations are very limited. I don't think so that I'm going to get my money back, although I've made all the attempts and informed all the right people. At the same time, I would say that I think it was a good coaching class for 8,000 rupees, if I may use that word. That is number two. And number three, we were talking about ringing up the cyber complaint cell at 1930. I tried. At the same time, I felt, I think the kind of questioning that they were doing, it is as if that you're the culprit. Absolutely. And the other person was actually a better chap. That's all I can say.
So when process becomes the punishment, many people and many commoners, Aam Aadmi, in this case in particular, Air Marshal, become victim of the process, becomes difficult to get their money back. Remember, data suggests as many as 100 crore rupees every day is defrauded from common man in this country. That's a lot of money. That's been happening for the last 7 years now. We will continue to bring you all these and more such important stories that will drive the way you spend money, to who you give money and where you send money. Keep watching News 9 Plus. Thanks very much.